Breaking news story as Democrats in the House Oversight have released a letter that President Trump denies he sent to Jeffrey Epstein.
I've been a little busy today. I haven't dialed in on that, but I'm told that it's fake.
From what I see, it's not a signature. I've seen Donald Trump sign a million things.
This doesn't look like his signature to you?
Nope. Doesn't look like it. I've watched him sign nonstop.
It doesn't prove anything. Having a birthday card from Trump doesn't help the survivors and the victims. It doesn't name an additional new person who could be indicted. I don't think there's anything in there that implicates Trump.
Well, as of this hour, Donald Trump remains silent.
Imagine a storm brewing in Washington, a scandal so explosive that it forces political giants into public meltdowns. The spark. A single birthday letter. Not just any letter, but one allegedly penned by Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. What follows is a battle of denial, outrage, and desperate damage control, as Republicans scramble to explain away the evidence while Democrats push for the truth. This isn't just politics as usual. It's a raw display of fear, power, and the lengths people will go to protect their own. Chapter 1. The letter that shook Washington. The halls of Congress often echo with fiery debates and bitter rivalries, but rarely does a single piece of paper trigger such chaos. That's exactly what happened when the House Oversight Committee subpoenaed and released a copy of Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday book, a bizarre collection of notes, drawings, and personal letters gathered for the convicted sex offender's milestone celebration in 2003. Nestled among these pages was a letter that set the political world ablaze, a handwritten note signed by Donald J. Trump. The message was odd, cryptic, and unsettling. There must be more in life than having everything. Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that a pal is a wonderful thing? Happy birthday. May every day be another wonderful secret. The signature was unmistakable. Analysts compared it to Trump's known autographs from that era, and the resemblance was undeniable. But for MAGA Republicans, admitting this was genuine would mean acknowledging Trump's personal connection to Epstein, a connection he spent years trying to minimize. So, the defenses began. James Comer, Republican chair of the Oversight Committee, immediately went on the offensive. He accused Democrats of politicizing the documents, insisting that the committee's real focus was on transparency for Epstein's victims. But critics pointed out the hypocrisy, while Republicans claimed to defend survivors. They've repeatedly downplayed, delayed, or dismissed evidence that could expose Epstein's powerful friends. Representative Robert Garcia, a Democrat and the committee's ranking member, wasn't buying it. Garcia and allies like Ro Khanna had fought tooth and nail to bring these files into the light. And now, with Trump's letter staring back at the nation, Republicans had nowhere to hide. Still, they tried. Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee offered one of the most bizarre explanations. He suggested the letter was forged, possibly by the Biden administration. Anybody can do a signature, he argued, pointing to the use of autopins in politics. I just don't buy it. This smells like a setup. His theory implied that the government had somehow planted this letter 2 decades ago, waiting for the perfect moment to unleash it. Then came Jim Jordan, one of Trump's fiercest defenders. True to form, Jordan dismissed the evidence without even looking at it. I didn't see it, but I don't believe it, he said. The contradiction was almost comical, refusing to examine the proof while loudly denying its legitimacy. Meanwhile, Don Bacon, a Republican from Nebraska, straddled the line between reality and loyalty. He admitted it was unlikely the letter was forged, but clung to the possibility that anything is possible. His cautious stance revealed the tightrope many Republicans were walking, too afraid to call Trump a liar, but too embarrassed to fully embrace the conspiracy theories. And then, of course, the Trump family jumped into the fray. Eric Trump rushed to his father's defense, delivering a denial that only made things stranger. My father doesn't do doodles, Eric insisted. He doesn't sketch. He doesn't draw cartoons. That's insane. To him, the very idea that Trump could have written or drawn anything in Epstein's book was unthinkable. But the evidence didn't care about Eric's narrative. The handwriting matched. The signature was authentic, and the words were there in black and white. Still, Eric doubled down. He claimed the whole scandal was nothing more than a rerun of Russia. Russia, another supposed hoax, cooked up by the media to take down his father. He ranted about the New York Times, Pulitzers, and the mainstream press's level of dementia. Yet none of this explained away the fact that Trump's name and handwriting appeared in Epstein's book. What made the letter truly damning wasn't just its existence, but Trump's reaction to it. Instead of brushing it off, yes, I knew Epstein, like many did at the time. I regret it. Trump flat out denied everything. He insisted he barely knew Epstein, that he had thrown him out of Mar-a-Lago, that he was disgusted by him. Yet the letter painted a different story, one of familiarity and even affection. The more Trump and his allies denied, the guiltier they looked. Democrats like Jasmine Crockett seized on this. Why lie? She asked. The fact that you're lying over this makes it look like you're lying over everything. If you'll lie about something this simple, why should we believe you when you deny involvement in the larger crimes? That question struck at the heart of the issue. The letter itself wasn't a crime. Sending Epstein a birthday greeting didn't prove Trump participated in illegal acts, but lying about it? Denying evidence that was plainly visible, that suggested deeper secrets hiding in the shadows. And the shadows were filled with whispers of modeling agencies, underage girls flown in from overseas, and a web of wealthy men who believed their power made them untouchable. Epstein may have died in a prison cell, but the ghosts of his crimes still haunt America, and the names tied to him remain under scrutiny. The birthday book was more than a relic. It was a roadmap of connections, mocking jokes, cruel pranks, and disturbing photos. It showed how normalized the grotesque had become in Epstein's circle. And now, thanks to relentless pressure from Democrats, the American public could see for themselves. For Republicans, though, the exposure was catastrophic. Their strategy of denial, distraction, and conspiracy theories wasn't working. The more they tried to spin the story, the more unhinged they appeared. To millions watching, it looked less like leadership and more like a desperate cover-up. The meltdown was only beginning. Chapter 2. The Meltdown and the Cover-Up. As the ink of Trump's birthday letter rippled through Washington, the Republican Party's response quickly turned from denial to outright meltdown. What should have been a moment of reckoning became a circus of excuses, conspiracy theories, and frantic attempts to rewrite history. The Oversight Committee hearings became the stage for this chaos. Democrats demanded transparency, waving the evidence like a banner of accountability. Meanwhile, Republicans squirmed, dodged, and sputtered through explanations that grew more absurd by the hour. Representative Jim Jordan became the poster child of this evasive strategy. Known for shouting down witnesses and deflecting tough questions, Jordan simply refused to engage. "I didn't see it, and I don't believe it," he declared. It was an astonishing statement, an admission that he wouldn't even look at the evidence while dismissing it as false. His words revealed not reason, but fear. If the letter was real, then so too were Trump's connections to Epstein. But Jordan wasn't alone. Representative Tim Burchett leaned into the fantasy of forgery. He claimed the Biden administration had planted the evidence, drawing comparisons to AutoPen signatures and decades-old plots by the so-called deep state. His theory imagined a government so crafty that it had hidden Trump's name in Epstein's files 2 decades earlier, waiting patiently for the perfect moment to strike. To the average viewer, Burchett's claim sounded less like oversight and more like desperation. Others, like Representative Dan Bacon, tried to walk the middle path. He admitted forgery was unlikely, but added, anything is possible. His hedging was transparent. He knew the evidence was real, but lacked the courage to break from the party line. His caution illustrated the bind many Republicans faced: acknowledge the truth and risk Trump's wrath, or repeat the talking points and hope the storm would pass. Outside Congress, the Trump family added fuel to the fire. Eric Trump, eager to defend his father, gave interviews filled with contradictions. He ridiculed the idea that Trump ever doodled or wrote notes, insisting my father doesn't sketch, he doesn't draw cartoons. That's insane. But the book didn't lie. The letter was there. The signature matched. Eric's protestations only drew more attention to the evidence. His comments grew more frantic. He compared the scandal to Russia, accusing the media of dementia and corruption. He lashed out at the New York Times and other outlets, claiming they were conspiring against his father to block him from future political victories. Yet none of his tirades explained away this simple fact. Trump had written to Epstein, and now the world knew. The fallout didn't stop at family loyalty. Some of Trump's most loyal allies, like Speaker Mike Johnson, waded into dangerous waters with their defense. In a bizarre moment, Johnson suggested Trump had actually been a hero in the Epstein saga, a confidential informant who helped law enforcement expose Epstein's crimes. The claim was breathtaking. If true, Republicans could have easily proven it by releasing the files, but they didn't. And soon after, Johnson backtracked, insisting his words had been misinterpreted. The damage was done. His wild defense had only deepened the suspicion. Meanwhile, Democrats pressed harder. Ro Khanna called out the hypocrisy, suggesting Republicans like J.D. Vance should retract false claims about the Wall Street Journal's reporting. Jasmine Crockett hit harder, asking the question that echoed across the nation. Why lie? Her point was devastatingly simple. Sending a birthday card wasn't a crime. Knowing Epstein in the early 2000s wasn't unique. Countless elites had brushed shoulders with him before his monstrous crimes were fully exposed. Trump could have admitted it, distanced himself, and moved on. But instead, he lied. He denied. He lashed out. And that made everything worse. Because if Trump was willing to lie about something as small as a birthday note, what else was he hiding? What bigger truths were buried beneath the denials and distractions? The Oversight Committee uncovered hints of darker realities. Beyond Trump's letter, Epstein's birthday book contained crude jokes, mocking sketches, and unsettling references to young women. Some letters hinted at introductions between Epstein and Trump. Others revealed the sick humor of men who saw exploitation as entertainment. The book wasn't just evidence of friendship. It was a glimpse into a twisted culture of power and abuse. And this is where the real stakes emerged. For Democrats like Crockett, the scandal wasn't about embarrassing Trump. It was about justice. She pointed to the modeling agencies Epstein and his associates ran, many of them fronts for trafficking vulnerable girls from overseas. Trump, too, had his own modeling agency. Questions lingered about how deep those connections went. Crockett promised further investigations, signaling that the birthday book was just the beginning. For survivors of Epstein's abuse, the charade was painful. Republicans claimed to champion the victims, but their actions told another story. By denying evidence, recycling redacted documents, and framing the scandal as a partisan hoax, they weren't protecting survivors. They were silencing them all over again. As Crockett put it, the victims aren't stupid. The American people aren't stupid. Yet the GOP meltdown continued. Instead of showing concern for the survivors, leaders clung to Trump's defense. J.D. Vance mocked the scandal as another Russia hoax. Matt Gaetz amplified conspiracy theories. Even as the evidence piled up, their loyalty to Trump outweighed their duty to truth. And as the spectacle played out, one truth became impossible to ignore. Trump's world and Epstein's world overlapped more than he ever wanted to admit. From beauty pageants to Palm Beach, from modeling agencies to Mar-a-Lago, their circles collided again and again. Trump once joked Epstein liked them young. That wasn't a casual remark. It was an acknowledgement of what many already knew. The letter made the connection undeniable. By the time the hearings closed, the Republican meltdown had become the story itself. Their excuses, contradictions, and outbursts revealed a party trapped by its loyalty to one man. The Democrats, meanwhile, had forced open a door the GOP wanted desperately to keep shut. But perhaps the most haunting question wasn't about Trump or Epstein. It was about America itself. How many more files remain hidden? How many more secrets are buried in estates, binders, and archives? And how many powerful men are still shielded by silence? The birthday letter was a crack in the dam. What lies beyond could drown reputations, careers, and perhaps even political dynasties. The meltdown was more than a scandal. It was a warning.